All right, click the links to join the channel, become a valued member, check me out on Patreon, subscribe, star. Thank you for all those who support with various other video hosting platforms where other videos go on there. So I was listening to a bit of Bryson Gray the other night and a bit of EVS. He did a 11.5 hour live stream. And it got me kind of thinking because they were both talking about similar things, and I'm hearing more and more this crop up lately. Is this concept of a parallel economy and discrimination against? Bryson Gray is a black guy, but he's a conservative Christian, and he's kind of in the same boat as a bunch of other people who are being discriminated against, either because they're of European origin, or they're Christian, or they're conservative, or whatever. It's getting to the point where people are kind of waking up to it. Anyway, so you see, like, a lot of people are kind of in this similar boat, and perhaps they're not aware that there are other people in this boat. Like we're one little small aspect of it, Comicsgate, but there's a lot of other people outside of the industry of comics and books, and I mean the whole sci-fi industry. If you look at the Hugo Boss Awards, I think GDA has done videos on that. I'm saying this stuff is prevalent in a bunch of industries. It's like, well, if we're like-minded people, if you feel you're being put in this boat because of who you are, your religious beliefs, or simply your ethnicity, if your skin tone is too light, well, then it would kind of make sense for these people to team up and support each other to create a new industry, or I don't know what you call it, like a parallel economy is what they call it. It's a mega grouping, a massively networked group of people who are in the same boat and need to, like, you might as well read that there's millions of us in this boat who we feel we're the victims of discrimination. So why not create something out of it? Like, you have this energy, you might as well kind of start organizing it. So the left is kind of mask off. They'll openly discriminate against people with different beliefs. If you're not an SJW, they will do their best to ban you from conventions. All the while, like, they call Comicsgate the fascists, and they're the people who ban people from conventions. Like, for Mike Miller, Pride is a Sin, and like anyone associated with CG, you're going to have a hard time going forward. Why? Because you're associated with a hate group. Oh, well, what have I done that's hateful? Oh, nothing. The group. Okay, so, like, what have they done that's hateful? Or, like, who represents the group? And, oh, they haven't done anything. Okay, well, would you do that to any other organization or group? And, like, I can give you some obvious examples, but if you wouldn't do it to those groups, why would you do it to this very loose association of Comicsgate? So the thing is with this is just kind of lean into it, accelerate, and just find other groups, other areas where people have felt that they're being discriminated against too, and they don't want to be around like-minded people. It's like, if you're conservative, you're probably going to be more comfortable being around this group of conservative Christians, or not Christians, whatever. But you know what I'm saying. It's like, you just got to be tired of SJWs by now. And here's the thing: 2022, I think there's enough of us that are just, oh God, enough with this kind of stupid shit. Just one small example with comics, and how the industry feels. But, like, obviously you see this stuff in Hollywood, and you see this stuff in a lot of other industries, and I suspect you're seeing this stuff in a lot of other industries we're just not aware, or I'm not aware of. That if we can start reaching out to these people, it's like, well, we can just form a mega industry, and we could even have, I don't know, conventions like the parallel economy conventions with, everyone who just wants to jump on board this thing. It's like, you're done with SJWs. God, how much fun would that be? Blackjack, cocaine, bourbon, and hookers. That would be a lot of fun at those conventions. Anyway, so the SJWs, basically they try to make you so depressed that you give up. Are they the brown shirts? Have they been the brown shirts all along? They want to destroy people simply because you disagree with them, like on the most mild political issues, or even, like, if you don't like a comic, suddenly you're the enemy. It must be destroyed. It's like, yeah, why would people not like comics like this? The mainstream is so intolerant of different beliefs that Comicsgate was able to build an industry, and the SJWs spend their free time trying to stop people from selling comics. The amount of energy SJWs anti-Comicsgate people put into Twitter, you look at their tweet history, and you can start looking at the amount of tweets that deal with CG and just stuff they hate, and realize, you spend a lot of time per day doing something that doesn't bring you any benefit unless the dopamine is such a hit to you. But like any use of your time would be a better spent use of your time than people who are rallying against Comicsgate, because Comicsgate is trying to monetize something. They're selling comics, they're selling a bunch of stuff, and even if they're just selling their YouTube channel for, you know, memberships and ad revenue, like they're doing something. And this anti-Comicsgate stuff on Twitter, they're not doing anything, but they're trying to tear down something. See, it's a weird thing that I don't understand, because they don't support the mainstream comics. I mean, this kind of stuff is kind of the worst of the worst examples, but you can see a lot of examples that are coming out now. It doesn't get, somebody released not the Teen Titans, but like a Gotham City teenager DC comic book, something like that. And the tweet came out yesterday for this new thing, and it's a bunch of, you know, misfit teens who all look like Zurzim, furry, otherkin type of thing. I think I'm gonna do it in a separate video, like a real short one. And the tweet got 160 likes. It felt like the guy was just about to start begging for likes, like, "Hey, can you retweet this? Can we get some excitement behind this?" You can't get it. You can't fake the excitement for that. It got 160 likes because, as I'll show in the next video, it's like, oh, okay. So when I say a ragtag band of misfits, you know, like Teen Academy or whatever, you know, like, okay, how many of those are going to look like you're unable to determine if they're a Zer or Zim, and how many are going to have how many women are going to have shaved side of the heads, and how many of the characters with boobs are going to be men, and then how many of the characters without boobs are going to be the women, because see, you can't tell after all, because it's all, you know, it's all just everything can be and how many of them are all going to be ugly? Like, are they all going to be ugly with shaved side of the head, just completely ugly, like nothing, plot twist. Well, you'll see in the next video, but yeah, of course there's going to be a woman with the shaved side of the head, because that's all they can do. Like, that's, hey, is she gonna have like torn jeans and construction boots? Yeah, because she's punk rock. It's all punk rock. Okay, and that's it. It's three chords. It's motorcycle boots, it's shaved side of the heads, and if you don't like it, well, she doesn't need your approval. Anyway, the anti-CG people, they're the most bitter, miserable people on earth. They don't like mainstream comics, but they don't want you to create a whole separate industry. It's like really the easiest thing for them to be like, oh, hey, you guys are making your own comics. Well, it's not for me. I'm on the left. I'm an SJW. But, you know, best wishes. I mean, sell it to somebody who likes it. It's like, that's how I feel about the mainstream stuff. Hey, if you guys have an audience for it, knock yourself out. Great. But it doesn't seem like that's the case, because, I mean, before the Wooflu, the hard sale numbers were coming out, and you look at this and like, oh, hey, great, this is a mainstream name that everyone knows. It's associated with a $1 billion movie. 17,000 copies. That's kind of, it doesn't seem, is that a good number? Is 17,000 good? Anyway, so you see Gab Marketplace has it's starting the parallel economy, and then you see stuff like Comicsgate and Rippaverse and Bryson Gray and others who are well aware of political discrimination and the absolute need to start making these connections to form something, you know, to form an organized parallel economy. Blacklisting, deplatforming is commonplace, whether it's in Hollywood, comics, basically any public industry where social media can get a hold of it. Will, you know, get the 12 angry Twitter weirdos. It might be more like 50,000 blue-haired weirdos, but they don't really have the buying power, because it's the case of, with comics or Netflix, a case of people who say they'll boycott something, but we're not paying for it in the first place. Like if Netflix, you know, there's rumors about Zaslaw and Warner Brothers trying to dial back the woke. I know Doomcock says otherwise. There's not a shot in hell of that happening. That's just copium hopium. But theoretically, if he wanted to, he absolutely could. Warner Brothers absolutely could. They could turn it all off tomorrow and go back to like making whatever they wanted to. You think, oh, well, there's going to be an outrage from the mainstream media and these angry Twitter people. Yeah, it would, but it wouldn't affect Warner Brothers' bottom line. In fact, they'd probably make even more money, because people are ready for a return. But, I mean, they don't do that because they don't want to do that. But if they could, if they wanted to. The 50,000 Twitter, we're not going to buy your Comicsgate projects because you guys are all a bunch of whatever. Yeah, but you weren't buying it in the first place. Yeah, but we're really not going to buy it now. You guys, that guy's Hitler. Oh, okay, but I mean, he's pretty mild milk to us. And then, like, when you call them that, and then you look to somebody to the right of them, you go, so what's this guy? Is he super Austrian corporal? Is he Austrian sergeant? No. Yeah. They're all the. I mean, they're like there's like that Twilight Zone episode where the lady comes out of the hospital and she says, "This is the guy who attacked me," and the husband goes out of the car and deletes the guy, and then they drive on a little further and go, "This is the guy," and he realizes she's crazy and just calling. I mean, that's a politically incorrect episode. They wouldn't make that today, now that I think about it, but it was a great episode. If you're on the right in Hollywood, look at like Hollywood or comics or a bunch of other public industries, and you see like the social media history, and they go, "Oh, they're far left people." You can see very obviously. So, oh, okay, well, they're welcome in an industry without repercussions. So we're the far right people in comics and in the media, in the news media, or in Hollywood in general, where their Twitter histories where it shows that they're far right and they're also welcome in the industry. Oh, well, those don't exist because you're not welcome in the industry. You'd just be fired, or you'd be a hostile work environment, or you just wouldn't be hired. Like, that's not. I mean, the proof is right before you. You clearly have a biased news media, which is a very, very important issue that oddly enough nobody talks about. Having biased comics is not the end of the world. It's like, okay, well, just comics are over for people like us. But you see the hypocrisy and the hatred clearly on the face of it, because before social media you couldn't always tell, but with social media you can just issue them that challenge, like, okay, so where's the openly right-wing people? Oh, well, those guys are bad people and they're not welcome in the industry. Yeah, that's the point. If they're not welcome in comics or the media or Hollywood or a bunch of other industries, well, then what's their option? They have to create their own. You guys should just create your own industry. Oh, okay, well, I guess we'll have to create our own crowdfunding site platform, because Indiegogo and Kickstarter censor. Well, I mean, that's, I guess, Rippaverse is starting that. And then if you get kicked off of payment processors, I guess that's what GabPay comes along for. You have to do your own payment processor. You guys should just start your own country. Yeah, well, I mean, that's next on the horizon. Anyway, all this stuff is biased, and the left plays by different rules. You're not getting fair treatment in America. And like even people who've kind of had their head in their sand are waking up to this, because they see it. They see this all as nonstop, insane media narrative on TV, and it's like they know that's not in accord with reality. And the media, are they gaslighting us? Yeah, the gaslighting is so obvious that anyone can look at this and go, the media is flat. How come every TV commercial I turn on has a certain theme to it? Anyway, it's kind of the point where people who are not, if you're not an SJW, like, you're not welcome in entire industries, where if you want to do certain things, you have to build it yourself, which, to be fair, nowadays, there's no better time to start to do this, to create a parallel economy. And I mean way beyond Comicsgate, to do this, to take it from one little facet of the parallel economy to something huge. It's going to happen anyway, but we might as well start talking about it to try to reach out to these people who already have the focus groups around them, so they can start connecting to each other. So Bryson Gray is well aware of the need for a parallel economy. If you're a Christian public figure or you're on the right, the left wing turns out to be just as hate-filled and as intolerant as they accuse us of. Everything they accuse you of, it turns out that they themselves are. The left wing's the real racists the whole times. Yeah, no shit. Yeah, obviously, yes. They're just little bundles of hatred, and right now it's okay to hate people of European descent or Christians, even if you're a black Christian. It's like, well, you're suddenly an epithet. You're suddenly the kind of language they use for those people, because you're not allowed to have agency. So you're in the same boat as someone who's just any other kind of conservative or just generally of European descent. You're just all in this kind of same hate-filled boat by these people who have all this hatred. What I mean when I say, like, they take it out against, they know it's okay to hate these groups because the media has been manipulating this. I'm sure you're aware of what's going on with that. This whole thing for like 80 years. If the media told them to hate someone else tomorrow, they would. It would take a little while to affect the brainwashing. But like, they're not thinking; they're just reacting to media propaganda. We ask people, like, "How do you know something?" Oh, I know it because I learned it in school from my cat lady teacher who's been brainwashed by Bolshevik teachers union and just insane Marxist teaching propaganda, critical theory from the Marxist school, the Frankfurt School. Like, oh, so how do I know something? Oh, I saw it on TV. It was a TV historical special from CNN and MSNBC. Then the producers were also critical theory. Okay, so if you know something from TV, if you know something from your Marxist teachers, then you don't know something. You know something that you know what they want you to know. But is it the truth? No, because you got to read the truth on your own. Anyway, there's no solution. There's this parallel economy. It's like, obviously it has to involve homeschooling. It has to involve a lot of stuff. It's like just getting people to the point of saying, oh, we can do this. There's millions of us and there's billions of dollars behind this. And you're seeing the homeschooling movement take off because people have, when they started teaching kids on Zoom calls and they had to stay home, people were seeing what the teachers were showing kids, and they saw what the libs of TikTok. Credit to her. They doxed her for that. Lawrence Taylor doxed her, came to her house, came to her friend's house, and like every time they use her name on the internet, I forget her name, but I mean, it's like she's out there. It's like the media uses her name and says, oh, what she's doing is stochastic terrorism. What she's doing is libs of TikTok, a Twitter account, huge account, absolutely blew up. She goes, TikTok's a media sharing platform. She finds these teachers who are doing this, like trans closets and brainwashing kids into just the most abhorrent behavior, and so she republishes those videos that they themselves made. It's not it's not a public disclosure of private facts. They don't have a reasonable expectation of privacy. When they made the videos themselves about how they're hurting kids, and then Libs of TikTok just talks about those videos like in the news, and all of a sudden that's stochastic terrorism. Like, she's doing the Lord's work, bringing this to attention to people, and for that, like, is it Washington Post with Lawrence Taylor? Like, Lawrence, whatever her name is, she's insane. And like her articles are constantly corrected because she's like, it's not the media. It's just they're pushing a globalist narrative. Like at this point, the media is not the media anymore. Oh, this is going on too long. Anyway, you get where I'm going with this. The absolute need for a parallel economy. It's not just Comicsgate. It's got to stretch out to a bunch of other industries where you just don't feel welcome for whatever reason. And you're just tired of SJWs. It's like, you saw how they built Comicsgate out of nothing. It's like, well, there's Comicsgate, there's some thousands of people in it, but there's tons of other people who are looking for something to get a hold of. They were just want to be left alone. And like Gab Marketplace, or not Gab Marketplace, Google Marketplace or Kickstarter, Indiegogo, they do stuff like they highlight POC creators. YouTube does it too. And you go like, well, wait a minute, what about like everyone else? So, I mean, theoretically, you could have a wealthy POC be highlighted on YouTube or Indiegogo or Kickstarter just because of their ethnicity, but you'd have a poor Irishman who is trying to sell something, but he doesn't get highlighted because he's of European descent or whatever. And that doesn't seem fair. Fundamentally, that doesn't seem fair. And the thing is, we're saying like we're going to create this parallel economy, and it's not like we're saying, oh, we're going to put the European people and the Christians, conservative, we're going to highlight them, we're going to put them to the front. It's like, I think most of us are willing to say, why don't we just treat everyone equally? Whether you're a black Christian conservative or whatever you are, and you want to make comics, you want to make whatever, like, why don't we just treat people equally? That seems fair. It's like equity is equal outcome, which is just Marxist critical theory from Moses Mordecai Levy. But what we're talking about is more like, just treat people equally. If you want to sell a comic, it doesn't matter the color of how much your reflective albedo is in skin tone. It doesn't matter what your religion is. You want to sell stuff and you're not an SJW, it's like, okay, why don't we all work together to get this done? We're not going to highlight someone because they're French. Why would we do that? That's insane. Maybe you want to highlight small creators. I can understand that. But it's like this clever shift that Bolsheviks did in about the 90s, where they shifted from class war to race war, and that's a whole big discussion. It's like Occupy Wall Street. Yeah, we're gonna go after the bankers and the financial. Oh yeah. No, you're actually going to fight among yourselves. The puppet masters suddenly have, okay, we're going to have the puppets fight themselves instead of fighting the puppet masters. So you're fighting the electrician in Wisconsin who made $97,000 a year. He's your oppressor, but not the banker who's telling. You get the idea where I'm going with that. Or the people who own the media. It's like, oh, but they're billions of dollars, and you're telling me to fight the tile guy who he was in Oakland and he makes $130,000 and he puts in tiles and he's the oppressor. He's my oppressor. But the landlord who owns $500 million worth of properties, he's not. That's right. Keep fighting among yourselves. Well, we don't have to fight among ourselves. We can actually go back to focusing on not even fighting anything, but like just teaming up, like making something positive instead of trying to. The left wing is doing this negative thing, trying to tear us down. It's like we have the numbers. We can do this if we want to. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, check me out, support me on Subscribe to our Patreon if you wish, and I will see you guys on the next episode.